Good evening from the farmer's garden. I'm one of the farmers. Hopefully our dogs are going to behave and not bark too much and let me kind of get this video done. This video has been sort of rattling around in my head all day, and it's nearly 10 o'clock at night now, but it's bugging me, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. This is just sort of a personal perspective video, just kind of a pet peeve, if you will. I'll tell you what triggered this. There's a new farm stand in our area that keeps advertising tropical fruit, local tropical fruit. And I keep seeing it, and it's like big capital letters: local corn, local peas, local tropical fruit. And we're in East Texas, so tropical fruits don't grow here. You could grow one in like a really specialized situation in a greenhouse or something, but they're not going to grow for production here. So I asked her yesterday, I'm like, hey, where do you get your tropical fruit? And she like beat around the bush or whatever, and 95% of our stuff comes from local farms and like this town and that town and whatever. Never told me the name of any farm, and just kept saying, I can order you whatever you want. And then finally I was like, I grow stuff. I really would like you to not use the word local to refer to things that can't be grown here. So I'm going to kind of explain why this is a pet peeve. First of all, I have to admit that we were very blessed with our first two markets that we ever attended, and now we've got sort of this unrealistic idea of how farmers markets work. Both of our original markets absolutely forbade anybody from bringing anything they did not grow. The first market that we went to, we sold out almost every week. Now, we were really little then, but the main farmer there had been doing it for decades and decades, and she did a wonderful job, and she would also sell out, but she grew it all. Everything that she sold was grown on her farm. The next market that we went to, we moved, and so we switched to a different town, and that one also had some really wonderful local producers. You were absolutely not allowed to bring in and resell anything. So people would be like, hey, you got any avocados? And we're like, it's the Texas Panhandle. Avocados don't grow here. So that kind of gave us this, what people consider an unrealistic expectation, that we now think you can grow all the vegetables that you sell and only sell vegetables that you grow, and you can still have a successful farmer's market. And a lot of markets just don't seem to operate that way. They don't seem to believe that's true. First of all, I understand that buying and reselling fruit and vegetables is just how the modern grocery system works. I know that Walmart does not grow their own watermelons. I know that Brookshire's is the big store around here. They're not growing their own peas or carrots or whatever. Buying the produce, putting it on the shelf, and selling it, that's nothing new. But I have a problem when people set themselves up as a farm stand. In other words, they advertise it, they kind of build the imagery around it being a farm stand, making it look like they grew their product, and they didn't. So things that we see often, people will say things like, we just got in more peas. If your farm stand says we got in more peas, that means they just bought big, huge bags of already shelled peas, and now they're putting them in quart bags and selling them to you. Or they'll say, well, we've talked about this some on Facebook, like the Pecos cantaloupes, the Grapeland watermelons, Jacksonville tomatoes, those sort of things. That simply refers to where they were grown. So if you're not in those areas, it means that they have gone to those places and purchased the product and brought it in. Now, I love a good cantaloupe, so I'm not like knocking the Pecos cantaloupe people, but if you're trying to support a local farm and they've set it up to look like they're growing it all, and then they're advertising things that they didn't grow, or in the case of this local place with tropical fruit, could not have grown, but they're telling you it's local, I have a problem with that. First of all, it's very deceptive to act like you grew it or could have grown it and then you didn't. So whether that's like plants, vegetables that can grow in your area, whatever it is, if you didn't grow it but you're making it look like you did, I have a problem with that. First of all, because I do work so hard to grow mine, and then I end up with people that they've gone to this other stand and they're like, hey, do you have tropical fruit? And I'm like, oh no, I'm sorry, that doesn't grow around here. And then they're like, oh, other stand has it, and they said they got it locally. And now they've got this, like, they've got a financial investment in the local fruit that they bought. And so there's like this financial tie to that lie now. And so now they're less likely to believe me when I say that doesn't grow here, because they're literally invested in the idea that it does grow locally. They've actually bought it. They've actually taken it home and said, oh, local fruit is really good. So they're less likely to believe me when I say that it can't grow there. And then they're like, well, some farmer she's not producing avocados or pineapple or tropical fruit, whatever it is. So that's a problem. But it's also just deceptiveness in general bothers me. And so like when you're telling people that you grew it, and now they trust you on that, and now you've built your business on that, it's a problem. So as consumers, what you need to be aware is that people do buy and resell. And again, I understand that's how the American grocery system works. I know that's how it works. But if you think you're supporting a farm, and then they're saying things that might be a tip-off that maybe they're not growing it, then kind of trust your gut on that. Ask some questions. Ask, where did you grow this? And if they're like, oh, we grow this in town, but they can't really tell you much about it, they're likely buying it. So just kind of pay attention to those things. I joke all the time that the best way to find out if a farmer actually grew something is to walk up to their farm stand and ask them where they purchased the product. Because if you walk up to my table and go, you didn't really grow that, did you? I'm gonna have like a visible reaction to that. I get that question enough that I've kind of learned to tone it down. But you're gonna walk away and I'm gonna look at Brandon and be like, they just asked me where I bought the onions. Like there's a reaction that comes to it when you've put this much effort in. So you can kind of just walk up and be like, hey, where'd you buy this? And if they grew it, they're gonna tip you off pretty quick, because they're gonna react sometimes strongly to being accused of purchasing it. And if you don't mind that it's purchased, that's fine. I'm not hating on the consumer so much. I just think it's a really faulty system that says, hey, pay me more for this really special product, and it's the same thing you can get in the grocery store. So just be aware that it is possible for people to buy and resell. But mainly this is just a pet peeve for me, and I just kind of needed to tell y'all about it and just kind of share this. It's really frustrating for us just in general when purchased product shows up at the market. Our market generally does a decent job of keeping that out. Every once in a while somebody's going to slip through the cracks, but they generally do a really good job of it. But like I say, we've attended markets where it was just an absolute no-go. You would be removed immediately. And so we kind of have this, quote, unrealistic expectation that it's possible to do really well just selling what you grow. So there you go. Now you know what's rattling around my brain at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. And now you know your farmer's pet peeve. Thank y'all for stopping by the farm. If my video didn't scare you off, go ahead and subscribe to our channel and tell your friends about us as well. And come back when you can stay longer.